Howdy, Fi Guys listeners. Welcome back to another episode on this Fi Friday episode, a very special one. Today we will be recapping Monday's episode with the coaching call Chris had with Kate. Very interesting episode. If you didn't check that out, I highly recommend it. But we're here to summarize, talk a little bit about it, get my perspective on it, and do a viewer mailbag at the end, as always. If you've been here before, you know the drill. But if it is your first time here, welcome. I'm Dominic. He's Chris, and let's get into it.
I just wanted to say that there's been so many different aspects in my life that I never truly thought were connected. I did this with Chris today, and it was quite honestly one of the best experiences I've had. I feel so much lighter. He put, one puzzle piece with another puzzle piece, and it fits, and it made me realize why I am the way I am financially. And I can't thank him enough. It was such a cathartic experience. And if you have the chance to ever meet him, which I haven't had the chance to personally because we are on opposite coasts, but even just have his experience, his thoughts, his thoughtfulness, the way he connects with people, do it, man. It's changed my life in 1 hour. So hopefully he can help a lot more people, and I know he will.
Dominic, I'm glad to have you back. I'm so sorry you couldn't be there for my date with Kate, as it were, for our coaching call, but I am glad to have the dynamic duo back, my Robin to my Batman, or maybe
there we go.
Robin to your Batman, I don't know. But glad to have you back. So I know that you had a chance to listen to the call that I did with Kate, since you obviously weren't there. What did you think?
Well, I mean, it's an American story. It really is an American story of parents not being able to teach their kids about finance because, frankly, they just don't know much about finance. And, to learn about finance back then, I mean, what do? Go to college? Very expensive. A lot of people can't afford that. Especially she had a little bit of a rougher upbringing than one would hope. But it looks like she's getting better. She's on the right path now, and she's doing good. We'd love to see that. We'd love to see growth, and you could see it in her eyes that she's on a better path now. But yeah, I mean, she's in the thick of it. She's definitely in the thick of it. It's a 20,000 in debt, credit card. It's tough. I especially I want to poke. If you guys didn't listen to Monday's pod, the breakup, there's like a whole relationship and everything, and unfortunately, I know it's a finance podcast, but like the worst thing I heard about that is that they had to separate the dogs. I was like, oh no, not the little animals. Oh man, that hurts. Which, oh man, I don't know. That broke my heart a little bit. What about you, Chris? That break your heart?
No, it was definitely. Yeah, no, it was tough. And I told her, like, she was like, I think it's silly that I stayed in a relationship that wasn't good for me for so long because of the animals. And I was like, no, it makes complete sense. And yeah. I think so many people will add logic to things that aren't logical. Like when it comes down to your emotions and like leaving your animals, that's an emotional decision. Choosing to spend or not spend your money is more than just a logical decision. It's an emotional decision. That's why for so long, people couldn't like understand economists, or economists would speak about how people would be all these rational actors showing up like, oh, they're not going to spend money for more things, or losing $100 is the exact same as gaining $100. There's no difference. But when you realize that we have all these cognitive biases, all these emotions, all this humanness, without factoring that in, you miss the tree in the forest because everyone's focused on being these rational actors when at the end of the day, we're not rational actors. And you said that, Kate's parents weren't able to teach her about finance because maybe they didn't know much about finance. But even in addition to that, it was more than just not knowing, is that, her mom especially was addicted to drugs. And like at that point, she's not even caring about teaching her kid about finance or anything like that, or even making good financial decisions for herself. She was focused on getting the next hit. And unfortunately, Kate saw that and, maybe unconsciously absorbed that and began to believe that rather than focusing on the long term, rather than having the balance of I live for today, but I plan for tomorrow, she just saw her mom for her first 6 years of life. her most formative years, and most people don't know this, but your money memories, your way that you're going to interact with money has been formed by the time you're 7 years old. So her most formative years, 1 to 6, was with her mom just blowing her money immediately because her mom had a drug addiction and wasn't focused on the long term. So Kate also saw that, brought that into her schema of how the world works, and is repeating the exact same behaviors nowadays. She's not thinking about her future as much. She wants to now, and she's luckily had this breakthrough. Before me, she said about a month ago, she realized that her finances were not where they wanted to be, and she's been taking active steps, and that's what kind of led us to have our coaching call. But it's crazy how she's gone through 34 years of not thinking about the future because she's always been living for right now. And all of that has been because of what she saw her mom do.
Yeah. 100%. 100%. And, she's not taking drugs. That's good. Great start. But the similarities are still there. And that's what's heartbreaking too. Like you said, like you learn so much from your parents, good or bad. The mother, unfortunately, wanted to live for the moment, got to get high, living for the next high, right? And in many ways, there's similarities to what her habits have been as well. Living for today with reckless spending and just all of that. The big consumerism, and that's not just her. I'm not just saying that's just for her. That's for so many Americans, right? Consumerism has gone out of control in this country. I mean, our biggest export is Americans buying stuff, and always kind of centering your happiness around purchasing things is a dangerous way to live in finance, right? And in life. And, we've talked about it on the pod for, the 3-day rule. I know with Amazon, you can buy it so fast. Oh, it's quick. And they do it like that. Is that, if you had to go to the bank, pull out cash, put it in a letter, Amazon in Seattle, send it away, you're probably not going to buy it, right? But if they have like the one click button, I can get it. Oh, and Chris, it's going to be here tomorrow. It's going to be here today. It'll be here in 3 hours. It's like,
yeah, if it's over $25, it'll be here in 3 hours.
Yeah. It's like, well, I only wanted this $6 thing. I guess I got to buy, $20 more worth of stuff. So it's tough. The system around us is designed, I hate to say it, it's designed to keep us poor. And I would go back and watch that psychology. We did a 2-part episode on the psychology of money, and kind of like where companies and the world are kind of tricking you into spending more money and kind of rooting you out of your own money. And you got to be aware of those things. So that's kind of my take on that part of it. What do you think on the consumerism side? How can we defeat that?
I think you're exactly right. And, our biggest export is getting people to buy stuff. Like we export our culture to other countries in order to get them to be consumers just like we are. The average American, this was a study back in the early 2000s, saw 5,000 ads a day. Yeah. And now with social media, I guarantee you it's far more than 5,000. Just no one knows. So we don't even try anymore. But that's not 5,000 ads of every ad saying, hey, Dominic, you're good enough. You don't need anything. That's 5,000 ads of every single ad saying that you are not enough. You are not where you want to be. But once you have this next thing, you'll finally be where you want to be. And I think we can all relate to that because we can all look around our houses. I can look at 10 different things on my desk right now that I strive for, that I wanted, that I thought once I finally have that thing,
yeah,
I'll be happy. And I got that thing and I'm still trying to find that happiness, because maybe happiness is not a thing. Happiness is not an object that you can have. Happiness is a feeling. It's an eternal state that we need to try to strive for, but we will never actually have. I don't think that we're ever going to have that. And I think so many people, they look into the world, they look into the universe, and they look for that universe and the world to give them purpose. But the universe and the world is even worse than like a mother that doesn't, that like brushes us off, that doesn't, it's worse than that. It just straight up doesn't respond. You ask the world, you ask the universe, what's my purpose? And it doesn't even give you the kindness of a response. It just is silent. It is nothing. And then you have to create, what is your purpose? What is your happiness? What is going to get you to where you want to be in life? I want to take it in another direction too. With Kate, when we were talking, we came to the realization with her. So first off, like we understood like why she might be spending her money right now, is because she saw that from her mom. But then she also said that a big thing that she's had an issue with is being a people pleaser, being afraid to stand up to her bosses in the past, being afraid to, have confrontation with people that she works with. And also when someone would ask her for money, always just feeling like the need to please somebody and give them money, no matter even if it was right or wrong for her. I told her that when oxygen mask deploys, you put your own on
Yep.
before you put on the person next to you. But Kate's running around putting on everyone else's oxygen mask and leaving herself out to dry. And we realized again that came from her mother and like watching the things she saw with her mom. So it's so hard to overcome. And I think the hardest thing when you work with someone like me and we work through this stuff is at the end of the day, if you listen to that podcast, Kate came in with, hey, I'm $20,000 in debt. How do I get out of this? And we didn't touch any of that. She's still $20,000 in debt. There's nothing I can do in 1 hour with somebody to get them out of $20,000 of debt, unless we want to go and make $20,000 worth of income in an hour, which if it was that easy, she would have done it. Everyone would have done it already. So what I try to do is bridge the gap to say, this is the reason that you're spending the way that you are, because this is going to be a long-term thing to get you out of how to get out of debt and how not to put yourself back into it. But if we can understand the story that's playing in your head so quickly that you don't even realize that you're telling yourself a story, now we can rewrite that story. So when we move forward in life, we can see, oh, this is what's happening. I'm falling to this same pattern that I've repeated for the past 34 years of my life. Is this serving me anymore? Do I want to continue that?
And there's the key. We're installed with certain habits from, I wouldn't say from birth, but I would say from the early ages. And you have to question all of it. Because the Chris that he is today, he wasn't that Chris 10 years ago. He wasn't that Chris 5 years ago. I look back a year ago, like I'm a different person now. 10 years ago, it's like, oh, don't show anybody photos of that. Very cringy.
Yeah.
And you have to question your programming, right? And that's really what it is. You got to question your programming and say, does this serve me? Or does this benefit me at all? And I'm not saying like with people, right? I'm not saying it can be construed as that sometimes. Like if you have a bad friendship and it's just toxicity, yeah, it's not serving you anymore. You might have to move on from that, right? And that doesn't mean that you should only have friends that, oh, here's stuff, give, take. It's like, no. It's like friendship is a partnership for good times, But in regards to like your habits and whatnot, she obviously has habits that aren't serving her, like excessive spending. To really, it's almost like a different drug of choice. The spending is kind of numbing the pain and kind of like, I don't want to think about the debts on my shoulders. I'm just gonna enjoy what I just bought, and I'm just gonna enjoy it. And it's like, and then that pain and the happiness disappears, and then pain comes back. I got to get something else. It's no different from a drug addiction, alcohol addiction, any type of addiction. And people pleasing it's tough because we live in such a sensitive world nowadays, where it's like you're literally walking on eggshells trying to make everyone happy except yourself.
Especially for women. It's probably even harder for women because it's like it's societally put into them more than like for men. It's like, oh no, you take care of yourself first. But for women, it's like, no, you have to take care of others. And they might have a lot of genetic predispositions because, females have to put their babies before themselves, where the father can kind of leave and not come back. I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just saying it is. But I think it makes it even harder for women to have to be a people pleaser. Because if you were to ask me, hey, Chris, I need you to come in, I don't know, can you please read this paper for me and like tell me what you think about it? If I tell you, no, Dominic, I'm not going to do that, you'd be like, okay, Chris is just like, he's putting himself before other people. But if you ask a female to do that, maybe like if you had a girlfriend or a female friend and she said that, you'd be like, oh, that girl, what a bitch. And we just, that's automatic. Like, what a bitch. She's not putting me before her.
It's a wild world we live in.
It is. And I was thinking that here in like our Western, we only can view things through our own lens. And here in Western society, when people, you said something there, you said when she was born, she came in and she had these thoughts when she was born, and maybe she didn't. And the Western way of thinking things, and this is like the Judeo-Christian way of thinking of things, is that we come in as imperfect beings. We're born imperfect, and then through learning, through finding God's grace, through whatever words you want to use it, you become a perfect being. Through trying to learn and find the right things, you become a perfect being worthy of entering to the kingdom of heaven or whatever it is. That's why we baptize babies, because they're imperfect. They come in with sin, and then we need to fix them. And that way, before they're able to learn, they can go to heaven. If that's what you want to believe in, I don't truthfully believe in it, but that many people believe that way. Now, there's another way of looking at things, which is the Eastern tradition, the Taoism way, the Buddhism way, that you come in as a perfect being. And then as you go through life, in Buddhism, they call it illusions. You pick up illusions that begin to taint your imperfectivity, your imperfection. So by collecting these illusions, you're moving farther away from the divine perfection that you were born with. And only through coming back and realizing what were illusions, wasn't truth, could we get back to the perfection that we were when we were born. And I think a lot about this when I look at young kids. Young kids, they're brutally honest, almost to a fault honest.
Yeah.
But like, they're just perfect. Like they're not racist. They're not anything. They come in perfect. They love everything. They're not afraid of things. And then we teach kids what to fear, what to like, what not to like. When in truth, maybe they were already perfect the way they were, but then society started to mold them to make them what we wanted them to be. And I saw that I thought of that a lot with Kate, that she came in perfect, but her mom, through just being herself and the mom was trying to take care of herself and was probably saddened that she had to take care of this baby, messed Kate up. So Kate came in perfect, but then she began to accept these illusions into her life that she was not perfect unless she acted a certain way to get the love of her mother. And you can see this story persisting throughout her entire life.
Yeah. And it plays on repeat until someone changes it. And the crappy part about it is, like, as a man, like, you want to be a hero, it's nice. But there's no hero coming to save her. Not that there's not a man out there for her, right? But she has to be the hero of her own story. And only she can rewrite the next chapter so that the last chapter doesn't repeat itself. And you can see she's reaching out. She's asking for help. That's it. Step 1, realizing there's a problem. Step 2, get out there and ask for help, So she's making the right strides, but the hardest part is yet to come, is the actual action of it. Chris is not on a, 2,000, he's not on a 3,000 foot tall mountain. I got to walk all the way up there to find him to get his advice. It's like, no, it's a text, email, call away. That's the easy part. Asking for help, easy, right? In comparison to the action. So I wish her the best of luck. I really do.
Yeah, I saw like an illustration earlier that when I saw it this morning, it kind of made me think of it. Everybody has dreams. Every single person has dreams, but very few people begin to make a plan. And so if you have your dream, great, you're with 100% of other people. But the moment that you say, I'm going to make a plan to get there, you just separate yourself into 20% of people just for making the plan. Then if you say, okay, here's my plan, but I don't know if it's perfect. Let me go and try to find someone who can guide me to make sure that my plan is where I want to be. Now you've just separated yourself into 10% of people out of the 100. And now that you have your plan, you have your guidance, now we start taking action. So many people, they'll have the dream. Maybe if you're lucky, they'll become with a plan. But then once you have the plan, how many people actually implement the action? And then from the action, maybe you have 5% of people that are actually doing the action. Out of those 5% of people, 1% of those of the 5% will actually be successful in doing what they want. So that's how you can see, like, oh, why is there not more Elon Musks in the world? Why are there not more Jeff Bezoses? Why are there not more Mark Zuckerbergs? It's because there is 99% of the other people who are still sitting down in the dreaming phase with refusing to start making the plan, ask for help, taking the action, and then going into the real world, succeeding or failing, depending on whatever way you want to, whatever happens, because we all have this great ideas in our head, and everyone has a plan for a fight till they get punched in the face. Yeah. And that is what going to the real world actually does. When you go into the real world with a business plan, with whatever it is, you realize that, oh, of course, everything worked out really well in my head. It was in my head and I had control of all the variables. But when you get out into the real world, that's when you're going to see things that your brain could never even conceive of. And in investing, that's known as the black swan event. You know, when we're looking back in history, we can say like, oh, well, if this happens, then this is how the market's going to react. If this happens, this is how the market's going to react. The thing that's going to take down the stock market on the next downturn is going to be something we never saw coming. If we did see it coming, we would have planned for it.
It's true.
You know, think of September 11th. Think of COVID. Think of Y2K. These were all things that no one saw coming, and that's why they took us out.
Yep. 2008, same thing. Same thing.
Mm-hmm. Yep. It's something that you could not see coming.
That is very true.
So that's why when I used to work with a lot of other financial advisors, and they would sit there and they would try to sell certainty to people. Oh, I know what's going to happen. If we position your portfolio in this manner, you're going to be safe, guaranteed, because I know what's going to happen. No, they didn't know what's going to happen. You can go back to September 11th, right before hours before the Twin Towers were run into, and you can watch the news reports of people saying it's September 11th, 2001, beautiful sunny day here in New York. It's this many degrees, and I think it's going to be a great day. An hour later, we had one of the largest tragedies in American history. You can't see it coming because there's too much randomness in the world. Every single one of us is an individual actor. Every molecule, every person, every animal, every weather system, all individually acting, and all of those individual actions create history. For someone to say that they know all individual actions that's going to happen, you don't.
The best supercomputers in the world could never compute.
And even if they did, there's no way that they could have all the data.
No, they could never have all.
It's crazy to think how interconnected everything is. And once you see the story from the future, once you're able to look back and be like, oh yeah, it's such a clear through line of how it all happened. But when you're looking forward, you can't, because there's stuff that we don't even know to factor in yet because it hasn't happened.
So true. It's so true. Do you have any final takeaways about the podcast with Kate?
No, I mean, I guess the final thing I would say to Kate, if she's listening, like I know you're going to do well. And I know that at the end of it, you might feel like, hey, Chris didn't even really I'm still $20,000 in debt. Like I'm not fixed. Why did you not fix me? And unfortunately, I can't fix somebody in an hour. It takes a lot of time, but you have to be the hero of your own story. And that's what we kind of finished the podcast on, is you're the hero of your own story. So continue to seek that guidance, continue to try to get better every day, because no one is coming to save you. And the longer that you sit there waiting for a hero, the more and more you're going to fall into the depths of despair, the more and more you're going to be a victim, the more and more you have the propensity to become the villain of your own story. But you can choose to start to become the hero, to start being the person that you want to be. And I think Kate is starting to realize, like, oh, this is where I want to go. I want to get to this mountaintop in the future. And now she'll start to work backwards how to get there. And she knows that I'm always there for her. So, Kate, if you need anything, you always reach out to me. I'd be happy to continue to work with you to get you to where you want to go. That's, I think, my dharma in life, my thing in life that I want to do is help people get to where they want to go and get money out of the way of it. Because that's the one thing that I think I'm uniquely suited for.
Absolutely. Well, good luck, Kate. We'll be thinking of you. We're wishing you the best. And you got this. You got this. With that being said, I think it's time that we move on to 5 Friday feedback viewer mailbag. I'm excited for this one. We've had some wild ones in the past couple weeks, so hopefully this one will be a little bit more chill. I don't know.
We'll see. You choose them.
I choose them. Howdy, Fi guys. Howdy. I am drowning in $180,000 in debt, and I just got laid off from my job.
Oh, and it starts off in a good place.
We're starting off strong on this one. All righty.
Oh, you know what I would say is like, hey, Kate, think about this. Compare yourself to this guy, and you're way better off.
Yep. So, drowning in $180,000 in debt, and I just lost my job. Howdy, Fi guys. Thank you for your help so far. No problem.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I hope have we been helping? I'm worried. You're here.
Have we been helping you?
Yeah, you're here. So you're learning more, so that's good. All right, let's get into this one. So I never thought I would be the one reaching out to you, but here I am. I'm seeking your advice on my current financial situation. And recently, I was let go from a job that was providing me the highest income I had ever earned in my whole life. $8,500 net monthly. Pretty good.
Cool.
That's really good. Well, it depends on where you live. But for here in Arizona, that's pretty good. Really good. Anyway, back to the story. Despite this, I always felt like I was barely keeping my head above water, mainly due to the staggering $4,500 in monthly payments towards credit cards and loans.
Yep, that'll do it.
That'll do it. That'll do it.
More than
These
half your
debts
money is
include-
getting eaten up.
Yeah. These debts include high interest credit cards, balance transferred to lower rate cards, and personal loans. Okay. On top of this, my monthly mortgage amounts to just under $2,000, also with a $500 car payment and another $1,500 for utilities and general living expenses. Okay, I was going to say $1,500 for utilities. That's kind of high. But general living expenses are included in the $1,500 as well. Okay. I will say, I'm going to pause real quick. Or if anybody wants to write in, please be as specific as possible, because just lumping it all in, it's just like, it's harder to give like specific advice on such a general number. You know, it's like, well, what's in the 1,500? Is that, spending $500 on cupcakes every day? Like, well, what are we doing? Like, or every month? It's like, I need more information. Anyway, altogether, my monthly obligations are around 7,500. Okay, so remember, he was making 8,500 from his job. Okay? So 1,000 in the positive. Yeah. Now that I find myself without a steady income, I'm understandably anxious about what steps to take next. I've applied for unemployment benefits, which might provide about $2,200 a month, but beyond my immediate future, I don't have any savings to fall back on. I do have some equity in my home. That's cool. That's good. Okay, positive. Which I bought about 6 years ago and has appreciated significantly. Congratulations. Leaving me with about $230,000 in equity against the total debt of $190,000, including the credit cards, loans, and my car.
Okay, so in the title, he said he had $180,000 in debt, but here he's saying it's really actually $190,000 in debt.
Correct.
Cool.
My dilemma is whether or not I should consider selling my house to wipe out all of my debts and focus on rebuilding my savings for a future home purchase. Alternatively, there is the option of tapping into my 401k, though I'm a little bit hesitant about this route due to the potential taxes and penalties and whatnot. Fair enough. I realize I've made some financial missteps, particularly with the medical debts from 2 foot surgeries and indulgent spending on expensive vacations and other non-essential.
Well, first off, before we move on, the surgeries, that's not your fault.
No.
The indulgent spending, that is
Yeah.
your fault. And depending on how we paid off the foot surgeries, I've seen a lot of people, Kate did this too, where she put medical debt on a credit card, which, like, please, God, don't do that.
Scary.
We've talked about that in the past podcast, what to do with medical debt. So please go back and find that podcast. Can't remember what it was, but you guys can find it if you go back and look for it.
Yeah. I think it was literally called like medical debt.
Yeah, like what not to do with medical debt.
What not to do, yeah. Now I feel like I am drowning in debt, and losing my job has only intensified my concerns. Any advice or insights you could provide would immensely be appreciated. I'm truly worried about the severity of my financial situation and eager to find a way to stabilize my future. Thank you for all your time and your consideration. From bills are high, but I'm aiming for the sky, I may have lost my job, but I won't let my future be robbed. So I'm just going to talk real quick on this. Losing his job, very unfortunate. That sucks. But he was digging himself into a well before he lost his job.
Mm-hmm.
And there was bound to be a nexus event to happen when the crap finally hits the fan, you know? unfortunately, the rug got pulled out from underneath him. Thankfully, his feet are fine this time. No surgeries, so that's good. But man, that's tough. That's tough. What do you think, Chris? What advice do you have for this gentleman? I'm assuming it's a gentleman based on our numbers. I'm assuming it's a gentleman.
Yeah, I would probably agree with that. So first off, I'd like to kind of echo what you said there in that he was already digging himself into this hole beforehand. And so many people, they do that. They always, we all have a bias. We've talked about this in our biases episode, that it's a recency bias. Whatever's happening right now, most recent to me, is what's always going to happen. Right now, I have a job that is paying me $8,500 net a month. Therefore, I will always have a job that pays me $8,500 net. And we have another thing where we have a bias towards things are going to improve in the future. So I'm not only going to have $8,500 moving indefinitely to the future, but that number is also going to increase. So if you go through your whole life thinking that, eventually, like I talked earlier about a black swan event, things that come out of left field and take you out, those are the things we never look for. But I can say that if we set up our life to be financially weatherproof, because everyone, like, of course, no one wants they're going to lose a job, but everyone's going to lose a job eventually. I've lost jobs. Dominic, I'm sure at some point you're going to lose a job.
I lost a job.
It all happens. Yep, it all happens. And it could be because of your own negligence, or it could just because the economy turned against you. We never really know. So first off, before I get into my advice, I first off want to acknowledge to our writer that this is an extremely challenging situation that you find yourself in. And first off, I commend yourself for actually reaching out and seeking advice to come up with a plan. Most people will have the dreams of, oh, I'm in debt. One day I dream of getting out of debt. But most people won't actually implement a plan. Even more than just implementing a plan, most people won't reach out for help. And then even the people that do that, we have to take another step to actually putting it into action. So once, just by doing the step of trying to create a plan and reaching out for help, you have moved yourself out of 99% of other people who are just going to sit there and dream and keep on hoping. So I just want to say, like, I understand this is under a lot of stress, but good on you for taking the time to seek guidance on what's the next best step. And obviously, I don't know every single part of the situation that you're in. So I'm just going to give, generalized advice, which I would give to anyone in this situation. And know if you need specific help, you can always reach out to me specifically, and then we can move into a actual thing where I can help you. But what I would first say is to our listener, they need to prioritize immediate cash flow. So it sounds like hopefully he's already applied for unemployment benefits if he knows that he's going to be getting at maximum $2,200 a month. So we need to make sure that $2,200 a month can cover the crucial necessities. What I'm thinking are the crucial necessities for him is probably his mortgage, and then like insurance, and probably putting food on the table and like drinking water.
Yep.
Other than that, like going out with your friends on the weekend, going on like extra vacations, going out to eat, like all that stuff is gone. You're going to be living very frugally for the future. Most of the time, people could go ahead and they can get away with putting some stuff on credit cards, hoping that they're going to put their feet under them when they get a job. You're already $190,000 in debt. I don't think you're a credit card person at this point. I don't want you to keep putting things on credit cards because we've already seen what that is. So we need to cut out all non-essential expenses, and only you can decide what is essential and non-essential. But your income has drastically reduced due to unforeseen circumstances, and now you need to trim any non-essential spending immediately. And remember that every dollar that you save will extend your runway until we hit that inevitable wall, as it were.
100%. 100%. And he was going to hit the wall eventually. So, yeah.
So, and taking on to my next point, we need to evaluate the debt situation. So you have some really tough choices to make. So we have to focus on keeping your mortgage up, keeping up your essential utilities, like I already said there. And then I think it's going to be most critical to maintain the home and your basic living standards. And when I say basic, I mean like basic living standards, nothing fancy. We really need to be very, very close there. He mentioned something about a 401k loan, right?
He did.
So if you want to withdraw from your 401k, I would use that as my last resort due to potential penalties and taxes. Additionally, in order for you to get a 401k loan, you typically need to be employed with a company in order to get that 401k loan. So I don't think you're even eligible for a 401k loan. Now you could take a 401k or a loan against your 401k, which is different than borrowing from yourself, but you're still paying interest back. And if you lose, you're going to be hit with additional taxes and penalties, in addition to the interest that you're going to be paying to somebody else. So that's probably going to be a non-starter, quite frankly, the 401k loan, just because you don't have the job anymore. If you did have a job, then you might be able to look at a 401k loan, like a true 401k loan. But since you've lost the job, that's honestly going to be gone. And I think it's actually next week that we have a 401k loan 5 Friday feedback where someone wrote in. We didn't choose it for this week, but next week I would definitely listen into that one. We haven't talked about it yet, Dominic, but when we do, I'm excited for you to read that letter. And you kind of just briefly told me about it. Mm-hmm. For the home equity and selling your house, could selling your house be a good way to pay off the debts? If you have $230,000 in equity, $190,000 in debt, that seems financially like the best decision, right? If I go ahead and do this, I make $40,000 more. But there's always nuance to financial decision making. And could it be a valuable option? It 100% could be, but there's also going to be significant issues if we do that. I want you to consider that where would you live afterwards if you were to sell your house? What would that look like for you? If your home is one of the few assets that you have that's appreciating, I would think very carefully before selling it just to get rid of the debt. But you do have other options because you are the owner of the house. Can you house hack? Can you bring in a roommate immediately or multiple roommates to start lowering your expenses or lowering your mortgage payments so that hopefully your tenant can pay that mortgage? Additionally, can we maybe look into like short-term rentals? Can you go and like chill on your friend's couch for a little while and rent your house out as an Airbnb? What can we do right now to start making immediate money? You're sitting on an asset in your home. I know it's not going to be an easy decision to turn that home into a money-making machine, but right now your home is not an asset. It's a liability because you're taking money out of your pocket to keep it alive. But you can easily, maybe not easily, but you can turn it into a asset that's actually making you money, given that the money that you're making is more than the money that it takes to continue to have it be in your life. So for me, if this was me, I would not sell my house. That would be my last case scenario, but only you can make that decision. But I know there's going to be people who are going to listen to this and say, Chris, it's so easy. $230 in equity, $190,000 in debt, sell the house, all done. But they're not thinking of the second, the third, the fourth order consequences of what that action is going to actually do. So go for it.
Just a quick question. So how do you feel about like a HELOC? If he pulled out a HELOC, that way he can stay in his home and kind of pay off some of his debt, like accessing the equity in the home.
A HELOC is still a loan, and with him being unemployed, I really doubt he's going to qualify it. And now he's putting up his house as collateral. If he can't pay back the loan, they take the house. And he already can't pay his current debt. What do you think is going to make him be able to pay the home on the HELOC? That's what kind of brings me to my next point. We need to explore additional income options, like fucking immediately.
Yeah.
And that's what we talked about a second ago with the house hack or the short-term rental. But in addition to just keeping up like a constant job search, hopefully you've already been networking. Hopefully like we were a good employee at work. I don't know why you lost your job, but like hopefully you've been doing this. You were getting paid quite well, $8,500 net a month. So hopefully you were making good connections with people that now we can start to call upon and say, hey, are there any other options open right now? Because right now you really need to broaden your network and start looking for other options that are going to bring in your skills, your experiences. Maybe you can do freelance work, consulting roles, anything to bring in immediate income. And I know a lot of people, like you're making $8,500 a month, looking at like, oh, now I have to work at McDonald's or In-N-Out or whatever. Mm-hmm. Right now you're unemployed. It doesn't matter where you work. Anything is going to be better than being unemployed at this juncture in your life. So don't think that you're too high and mighty to work at a lower level job. A lower level job can be enough to just get you by, to get those necessities out of the way while you look for the next big job that you need. Don't think that you're bigger than that. So even if it's just a bunch of side gigs, even if it means that in the interim, we're considering like a side hustle, part-time work, anything to bring an additional income is going to help out. Even if that means online or gig economy stuff like door dashing, Uber, any of that kind of thing. We need money, right?
Yeah.
And then in the long term, once we find another job, we really need to focus on the debt payoff plan. right now with your out of job, the $180,000 is going to keep on growing and it's going to get worse. So you need to prioritize paying off the mortgage and staying inside the house, or paying off whatever is most important to you in terms of your debts. I can't tell you what that answer is. Only you can decide that. But once you do get back on your feet, once you feel more stable, we need to have a concrete plan to pay off the debts. And it's a very simple equation. How much money you make minus how much money you spend. Once you know how much money you're making, you minus how much you're spending, that number, whatever that equals to, that's going straight at the debt, to take off as much debt as we possibly can. And you can either use the snowball method, the avalanche method, the hybrid method. If you don't know what those means, please go back to our debt repayment episode, listen to that. We really need to have a debt repayment strategy. And then beyond that, once we pay off the debt, we need to have a rebuilding savings strategy where we're going to start saving more money. I don't want you to get addicted to just watching that debt amounts get smaller and smaller and smaller. I also, in tangent, want you to get used to seeing a number in your bank account or your investment account getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Because paying off debt might feel amazing, but what feels even better is having an infinite money machine that constantly pays you money so that you don't have to ever find yourself in this situation, ideally. And of course, no one can predict the future, but that's why we always have as many contingencies as we possibly can. That's why we have an emergency fund. That's why we have a crisis fund. That's why we have all of these things in our way to protect us for when the rug does get pulled out from under us like it has. Mm-hmm. My final thing to this person is focus on your emotional well-being. This is going to be an extremely stressful time. It's going to be extremely overwhelmed. I can already hear that in your letter. So please don't hesitate to seek out support from your friends, your family, a financial counselor. You can even reach out to me and I can help with that. But you need to keep your mental health in check because it's going to be very important for managing your finances. Because if we end up falling into despair, all you're going to end up doing is thinking about short-term gratification rather than the long-term impact of what your decisions today are going to mean on your future. So please, become part of the FI community. We're a FI family here. Hopefully we don't have a bunch of assholes. And if we do, we'll kick them out. We just want people here that are trying to become better, because Dominic and I truly believe you are the aggregate of the people you spend the most time with. So you want to surround yourself with people that are encouraging you, that want you to do better, that understand that, hey, this sucks. And you put yourself in this situation and you can get yourself out. Don't look for a hero. You are your own hero. Go and find it. We're just the guide. We're here to help you get on the journey, but we can't do it for you. I'm not going to pay off your debts. It doesn't matter how much you beg to me. But what I can do is teach yourself how to get you out of debt and how to not put yourself into this situation ever again in the future. So I'm wishing you all the best moving forward. Stay strong, stay committed on the path to financial independence. You got this, man. I know it's going to take time. It's going to take dedication. There's nothing I can say right now that is going to wipe your $190,000 out. That's just not going to happen. But hopefully you can take one thing that we said today, implement into your life, and start moving that compound interest of positive momentum forward that's going to get you to where you want to be. It's going to be one step at a time. The journey of 1,000 miles starts with one step.
Absolutely.
And you need to start making those steps. We have a plan now. I just laid out a plan for you. You need to execute on the plan.
A plan is only as good as the action you take. So I hope you take lots of action. With that being
What's
said,
that thing we always say? Information without action is just entertainment.
That's
so
it.
Don't be entertained by us.
No.
Put it into action.
Put it into action.
If you're not in this situation, be entertained. If you are in this situation, take action.
Bingo. Best of luck. Thank you for writing in, and hopefully don't be afraid to write back into us. Now we move on to our third and final segment of today's podcast, called Win of the Week. It's a much shorter segment than the other two segments, but this is just kind of so we can end the podcast on a more higher note, an upper note, and we share our win of the week, Chris and I. So, and if you guys have a win of the week, feel free to share it in the comments as well.
And if you want to get featured on Fi Friday Feedback, please go to thefiguys.com, go to feedback tab. More information, the better. We will always keep you anonymous. Believe it or not, the writer of this letter was not a rhyme about getting your future robbed. That's something that we create for you. So if you want to create a rhyme, please put it inside your thing. I would love to use it if it's good. If not, I'll typically come up with a better one after Dom tells me what's going on.
Yeah. All righty, guys. Well, let's get on to win of the week. Chris, what is your win of the week this week?
Mine isn't all that great, but I have a fridge downstairs that we use, and that fridge has a little filter inside of it, but Arizona water, Phoenix water in specific, is not good quality water. We have a lot of calcium in the water. So my fridge has a little filter in there that like you can still just taste when you taste the water out of my fridge. Like it's not the filter. It can't fix all things. So we don't drink out of the fridge. We go and we fill up our 5-gallon drums or our 5-gallon things from a water dispenser place that's down the street that does reverse osmosis and all that good stuff. And the water tastes substantially better. But our fridge also makes our ice, and our ice, the water is still run through that same filtration system. So in order for us to drink our good water, when we put in ice, you're putting gross ice with good water, and it just like you can still taste it. Mm-hmm. So my friends had an ice maker that they bought that you can put your own water into. And so we get to use the nice one, and they gave it to us for watching their cats. So now me and my wife have fancy ice that doesn't have a weird taste to it. So now we can actually put it into our drinks without being worried that we're absorbing some sort of calcium thingy, which probably wouldn't hurt us in the long run. But it's just gross. Like you can see there's like stuff floating in your water that I was like, I don't feel great about that. And now with my new ice that actually makes bullet ice, the nice little like softer ones. So it's pretty fancy. I'm happy with my new ice maker.
Heck yeah, that's exciting. Yeah, I know what you mean. I have to have nice water. That's all I mostly drink only water, and high alkaline preferred. But yeah, I can't do the fridge water. I can't do it. And even some water bottles are just terrible.
No, I think most water bottles are honestly terrible.
I'm glad, because I remember a time when you're like, I let you taste my water, and I tasted your water. I'm like, you don't taste the difference? You're like, no, not at all. And now Chris, bro, he's a water connoisseur.
I still don't taste the difference between your water and my water, but I'm saying like if I drink Arrowhead water, like I can taste the difference between Arrowhead water. Like that's garbage.
It's not
compared
it's
to
real bad. It's real bad. Yeah, I not to like, show too much behind the curtain, but in our show notes today, I was very confused on Chris's win of the week, because in the notes it just says new ice maker for watching cats, and I'm like, an ice maker for watching cats?
I watched my friends' cats. They gave me an ice maker.
Yeah, I was like the most logical. I'm like, he acquired a new ice maker, and he watches cats. But I was like trying to put together like, what is it? What is it?
It's all part of my side hustle. This is my side hustle to make ice.
Exactly.
No, but this ice machine, I looked it up, was like $300 for this thing. Yeah, I didn't know how much ice makers made. I mean, I just looked at my fridge and I was like, that's gross. And my dogs love the ice out of there. So my dogs get the ice from the freezer, and then I get the fancy ice.
We're full of calcium, all big and bulky. Alrighty, that's cool. Yo, but his dog is actually your dog is actually built though. Built like I call him the land shark. Yeah, Call is a land shark. He's so beautiful. So like intimidating.
His name is Call Doggo. He's an American bully. I think about 62 pounds or so. So just big, dumb pit bull head. But yeah, if you ever seen Land Before Time, think of Chomper, and that is my dog. He is Chomper.
That's a good reference.
Yeah,
sweetheart though. Such a sweetheart.
Just like Chomper was. Like Chomper was a T-Rex who was nice, and like that is Call. Like,
he has like such a big head too, because like his body is like slimmer. So it's like, why is it? The head is bigger than the body, and it's just so adorable. I love that dog. Anyway, I miss that dog. I might come over just to see that dog. Anyway,
come on over.
Dude, I'm on my way. My win of the week is for the last like 2.5 weeks, I've been having knee problems at my right knee, and like every time I would bend down, it would start to hurt. I'd get like not all the way down. I'd be like, that hurts, and putting more pressure on it, I'm like, dude, it hurt. I ended up working out with Chris this week, and towards the end of the workout, I was telling him, I was like, yeah, my knee's been. He's like, here's what we should do, and he was showing these like mobility exercises, like bear crawls, and like these. I don't know if you guys ever been in wrestling or seen like jiu-jitsu, and like he was showing me how to do a takedown in a sense, but it's more of like a knee drill to get that mobility back. And I was like, oh, it's hurting like right there. And he's like, it's okay. He's like, just push a little bit through it. You got to go through the pain to get past the pain. And it hurt. I'm not gonna lie.
Within reason.
Within reason. Yeah, don't.
Within reason.
Within reason. Yeah. Don't.
There's always nuance to this.
There's always nuance. Yeah. Don't just like. I don't want to get an email next week and be like, yo, I broke my knee. I broke my shin so they could grow back stronger. It's like, that's. No. But to my surprise, I woke up this morning and I bent down and I was like, wait a minute. He doesn't hurt anymore. It doesn't hurt. I was like, I was shocked. I was like, what? I was hooting and hollering. I was like, oh man, this is great. And I didn't think it was gonna go away that quickly, which was crazy. But yeah, my win of the week is I'm back. I'm back, baby. I'm back. I'm full health. I'm back. So yeah, that's my win of the week. Big shout out to Chris. I kind of a little bit meager on the win of the weeks this week for us.
Yeah, it's
that's all right.
I guess I'm gonna add a new win of the week. It's just 5 minutes of me showing you a mobility drill, 1 hour with Kate, and I feel like I've changed both your guys' life with an hour and 5 minutes of my time.
Bingo. There you go. There you go. Now I can live a happy life again.
Yep. Without knee pain.
Without knee pain. Yeah, pain sucks. Some pain's good. Yeah. That's a whole podcast in itself. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. If you did, give it a like. We really appreciate it, and share it. We would also appreciate that as well. If you are still here and you haven't subscribed, that would be shocking. Make sure to subscribe. All that fun stuff. Chris, any final thoughts for today's episode?
No, I mean, if you want to be featured on Fi Friday Feedback, please write into us. Again, that's FiGuys.com, or I think it's theFiGuys.com. Go to feedback page. You'll see everything that you need there. And then more importantly, before you write in, please tell a friend about the Fi Guys. Let them know about this journey that you're on to try to achieve financial independence, and bring them along with them. Because I can tell you from personal experience, it's really cool to be financially independent. What would be even cooler is if I had more people here with me that I could hang out with, because every day for me is like a Saturday. And for a lot of time, I'm just kind of alone, or hanging out at jiu-jitsu, or doing stuff like that. So, or working on, making a business to help more people. But there's always something. But bring more people along for the journey. It's so much more fun.
Absolutely. With that being said,
thank you so much to Kate too.
Yes. Big shout out to Kate. With that being said, I hope to see you guys on Monday. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you when we see you. Later, guys. Peace.
Later.
This video podcast is sponsored by Mons on Wealth. The content in this podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be considered financial advice. We do not endorse specific products or services. Past performance does not guarantee future results. The opinions expressed are those of the host and guests, not the podcast sponsor. It is crucial to consult with a qualified financial advisor or professional who can provide advice tailored to your specific needs before making any financial decisions, investments, or taking any other actions. If you are seeking specified help, you can reach out to Chris at monsonwealth.com.